Hard times have a way of teaching the best lessons, especially in the kitchen. Our grandparents knew how to make something out of almost nothing, turning scraps, garden vegetables, and a little creativity into hearty, unforgettable meals. These weren't gourmet dishes. They were born from struggle, survival, and love. Every bite carried a story of resilience and gratitude. Today, we're revisiting 30 cheap meals our grandparents ate to survive and discovering how their simple recipes still remind us that resourcefulness and heart can turn any meal into comfort. Number 1. Homemade mac and cheese. Not the box version we know today, but the real, homemade kind. Elbow macaroni bathed in a sauce made from whatever cheese was cheapest that week, thickened with flour and milk. Your grandmother would bake it until the top turned golden and crisp, filling the kitchen with warmth and comfort. In the 1930s, a pound of cheese cost about 15 cents, yet it could feed an entire family. This was more than a meal. It was proof that simple ingredients, treated with love, could taste like luxury. Number 2. Rice and beans. A dish that united cultures and stretched pennies further than almost anything else. Dried beans soaked overnight, simmered until tender, and served with rice created a complete, nourishing protein. In the South, red beans were a Monday staple. In Italian homes, white beans flavored with garlic and herbs ruled the table. At just a few cents a serving, this meal filled stomachs and carried families through the leanest weeks. Even better, leftovers tasted richer the next day, comfort born from necessity. Number 3. Potato soup. When times were hardest, potatoes saved the day. Cheap, filling, and endlessly adaptable, they became the backbone of many Depression-era dinners. Grandmothers would dice a few potatoes, simmer them in water or milk, and maybe add an onion if one was on hand. A single ham bone could transform the whole pot into something special. The result was a creamy, hearty soup that stuck to your ribs, costing mere cents, but feeding plenty. Simple, honest, satisfying. Number 4. Biscuits and gravy. Few things stretched ingredients further than this Southern classic. Saved bacon grease or sausage drippings became the base for rich, peppery gravy thickened with flour and milk. The biscuits? Made from scratch, flour, lard, and a little patience. Even when meat was scarce, this meal felt hearty and indulgent. For farmers, it fueled long days. For families, it brought comfort to cold mornings. Proof that frugality and flavor could share the same plate. Number 5. Cabbage and sausage. Cabbage was the working man's vegetable, cheap, hearty, and available year-round. Toss it in a pot with a bit of sausage or salted pork, and you had a meal that could feed a crowd. As it simmered, the cabbage absorbed the smoky, savory flavors of the meat, turning humble ingredients into a dish full of richness. Leftovers lasted for days and somehow tasted even better reheated. In many homes, this one-pot wonder was the true taste of survival. Number 6. Lentil soup. Before lentils became trendy health food, they were the quiet heroes of survival. Cheap, hearty, and full of protein, they could feed an entire family for pennies. Grandmothers would simmer lentils with bits of carrot, onion, or celery, whatever was on hand. Sometimes it was just water, salt, and a splash of vinegar for brightness. Lentils didn't need soaking, which made them perfect for long days when time and fuel were scarce. Served with a crust of bread, this simple soup offered warmth and nutrition when both were hard to find. Number 7. Hobo chili. Born around campfires and in makeshift kitchens, hobo chili was the people's stew. It began with beans, canned tomatoes, and a dash of chili powder. Then whatever else could be spared found its way in. Ground beef, if luck allowed, corn or onions from the garden, even scraps of pasta to stretch the pot. Each region gave a twist. Texas skipped the beans. Cincinnati served it over spaghetti. No two pots were ever alike, but everyone told the story of making something from almost nothing. Number 8. Sloppy Joes. A little ground beef, a bit of ketchup, and a handful of pantry seasonings turned into one of America's favorite survival meals. Meat was precious, so grandmothers stretched it with breadcrumbs, oatmeal, or even cooked rice. The sweet and savory mixture was spooned onto leftover or day-old bread, and no one complained about the mess. Kids loved it. Parents appreciated how far 1 pound of beef could go. It was humble, hearty, and full of the ingenuity that defined a generation. Number 9. Egg salad sandwiches. When meat disappeared from the menu, eggs stepped up. At 15 cents a dozen, they were affordable protein for nearly every family. Hard-boiled, mashed with homemade mayonnaise, mustard, and maybe a touch of relish, egg salad became the lunchtime staple of the 1940s. Spread thick between homemade bread, it was satisfying, simple, and portable. Some mothers added chopped celery for crunch, others a spoonful of pickle juice for flavor. In every lunchbox, egg salad was proof that frugality could still taste good. Number 10. Cornbread and pinto beans. In the South and Southwest, this wasn't just dinner, it was tradition. Pinto beans simmered all day with salt pork or just onions and garlic, creating a rich, smoky broth. Meanwhile, cornbread baked in a cast iron skillet, golden on top and crisp at the edges. Together, they made a complete, filling meal for a few cents. Leftovers were mashed into patties and fried for breakfast the next morning. No waste, no excess, just comfort food born from resilience. Number 11. Homemade fried rice. Before takeout menus and soy sauce packets, families made their own fried rice using whatever leftovers they had. Yesterday's rice was spread out to dry, then fried in a hot pan with scrambled eggs, a few vegetables, and maybe tiny bits of meat. If soy sauce wasn't available, a splash of Worcestershire or just salt and pepper did the job. Each stir of the pan brought new life to forgotten scraps, transforming them into a meal full of color, aroma, and satisfaction. Nothing wasted, everything used. Number 12. Hot dogs with macaroni salad. Hot dogs were the people's meat, affordable, filling, and full of flavor. Paired with homemade macaroni salad, they became the highlight of summer picnics and weeknight dinners alike. The salad was simple. Cooked macaroni mixed with mayo, mustard, pickles, and maybe peas or cheese if the budget allowed. It could be made in bulk, kept cool in the icebox, and served for days. This humble duo was proof that even cheap cuts and cold pasta could bring joy to a family table. Number 13. Tuna casserole. The 1940s kitchen miracle. Canned tuna didn't need refrigeration, making it perfect for tight times. Mixed with noodles and a can of cream of mushroom soup, it baked into a creamy, comforting casserole topped with crushed crackers or breadcrumbs. Frozen peas added color and nutrition when available. For under 50 cents, a family could eat well and feel fancy doing it. It wasn't just a meal, it was convenience, comfort, and creativity baked into one dish. Number 14. Baked potatoes with toppings. Few foods were as cheap or versatile as the potato. Baked until fluffy inside and crisp outside, it became the perfect base for any topping on hand. Butter, leftover chili, shredded cheese, or even yesterday's gravy turned a single potato into a hearty dinner. Some families made potato night a weekly ritual, letting everyone top their own. At 2 cents a pound, potatoes filled stomachs and stretched groceries farther than anyone thought possible. Number 15. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. A timeless combination born of necessity. Bread, butter, and cheese made a filling sandwich when money was tight. Paired with a can of tomato soup, often stretched with milk or water, it became a comforting, affordable meal for all ages. During World War II, when butter was rationed, families discovered mayonnaise grilled just as well, adding a tangy twist. Simple, quick, and endlessly comforting. This meal reminded families that even in hard times, a little warmth and creativity could still feel like love. Number 16. Stuffed peppers. When bell peppers were in season and cheap, grandmothers turned them into entire meals. They'd cut off the tops, scoop out the seeds, and fill each one with leftover rice, a bit of ground meat, chopped onions, and tomato sauce. Sometimes breadcrumbs were added to stretch the filling further. Baked slowly, the peppers became tender and infused with flavor. Served piping hot, one stuffed pepper was a full dinner by itself, vegetables, grain, and protein all in one. It was simple cooking that felt special. Number 17. Beef stew. A pot of beef stew could stretch the smallest cuts into a feast. Tough trimmings from the butcher were browned for flavor, then simmered for hours with root vegetables, potatoes, carrots, onions, and turnips. The long cook turned everything tender, and the broth thickened into a rich gravy. Served with bread to soak up every drop, it fed the whole family for days. Each reheating made it better, deepening the flavor. A true symbol of patience, thrift, and warmth. Number 18. Tater tot casserole. When frozen foods became affordable in the 1950s, families embraced this hearty casserole. Ground beef cooked with canned soup, usually cream of mushroom, was layered with vegetables and topped with neat rows of tater tots. As it baked, the top crisped while the inside turned creamy and savory. 1 pound of meat could feed 8 people when stretched this way. At church potlucks or weekday dinners, this dish always drew a crowd, simple, filling, and budget-friendly comfort food. Number 19. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Cheap, shelf-stable, and endlessly satisfying, peanut butter was a Depression-era hero. Spread thick on homemade or day-old bread with a spoonful of jam, it fueled kids, workers, and soldiers alike. Many families made their own jelly from overripe fruit or berries gathered nearby. For a few cents, you had protein, sweetness, and staying power in every bite. Even today, it's one of the most enduring symbols of simple, affordable nourishment. Proof that survival food can become a lifelong favorite. Number 20. Cabbage rolls. A dish carried by immigrants and embraced by struggling families nationwide. Cabbage leaves were softened in boiling water, then wrapped around a mixture of rice and a bit of ground meat. Simmered slowly in tomato sauce, they became tender parcels of comfort. Some families made them with no meat at all, relying on seasoned rice for flavor. They reheated beautifully, feeding large families for days. From Eastern Europe to Midwest kitchens, cabbage rolls were a labor of love and survival. Number 21. Grits with butter or gravy. In the rural South, grits weren't just breakfast, they were survival food. Made from ground corn, they were cheap, filling, and endlessly adaptable. A pot of grits could be cooked with water, milk, or even broth if available. A pat of butter, a drizzle of bacon grease, or a ladle of gravy transformed it from plain to rich. For many families, this was comfort in a bowl, soft, warm, and nourishing. Whether eaten at dawn before farm work or at supper with fried eggs, grits stretched the budget and filled hungry bellies. Number 22. Vegetable soup from scraps. No vegetables went to waste in Grandma's kitchen. Onion skins, carrot tops, and wilted greens all found new life in a simmering pot of soup. Sometimes a soup bone added flavor, other times just salt, pepper, and love did the trick. Each batch tasted a little different, depending on what the garden or pantry offered that week. Served with bread or crackers, this everything soup could feed a family for days. Waste nothing, want nothing, that was the rule. Number 23. Cornmeal mush. Before cereal came in boxes, breakfast was often a simple bowl of cornmeal mush. Made from water, salt, and cornmeal cooked slowly until thick, it cost almost nothing and kept people full for hours. In the morning, it was eaten hot with butter or molasses. At night, leftovers were sliced and fried crisp in a pan. The texture was creamy yet hearty, and the flavor was pure nostalgia. For many Depression-era families, this humble dish kept hunger away when times were hardest. Number 24. Bread pudding. When bread went stale, it didn't go to waste, it became dessert. Torn into pieces, soaked in sweetened milk and eggs, then baked until golden, bread pudding turned scraps into comfort. A sprinkle of cinnamon or a handful of raisins made it feel indulgent. Some even poured a bit of syrup or coffee over it for extra flavor. Served warm or cold, it was proof that nothing in Grandma's kitchen ever truly went to waste. Sweet, simple, and unforgettable. Number 25. Fried bologna sandwiches. Bologna was once the budget-friendly meat for the people. Fried in a skillet until the edges curled, it took on a smoky, savory flavor that felt luxurious compared to its cost. Served on white bread with mustard or a slice of cheese, it was lunch for factory workers, farmers, and kids alike. Some families added a fried egg to make it more filling. The sizzle, the smell, the taste. It was a small pleasure in a time when every penny counted. Number 26. shepherd's pie, a masterclass in stretching leftovers. Traditionally made with bits of leftover meat, often beef or lamb, mixed with peas, carrots, and gravy, then topped with a layer of mashed potatoes. It was baked until golden, turning scraps into something hearty and comforting. In tough times, families skipped the meat entirely, using only vegetables and gravy for flavor. Every bite tasted like comfort and thrift combined, a dish that turned nothing into a satisfying family dinner. Number 27. Oatmeal with brown sugar or syrup. A warm bowl of oats could feed a family for pennies. Oatmeal was a Depression-era breakfast staple, simple, filling, and adaptable. It could be cooked with water, milk, or even leftover coffee for a touch of bitterness. A sprinkle of brown sugar, molasses, or homemade syrup added sweetness. Some stirred in apples or raisins when available. It wasn't fancy, but it stuck to your ribs and kept hunger at bay all morning. Proof that the simplest ingredients often did the most good. Number 28. Navy bean soup. Named for its role in feeding U.S. sailors for decades, navy bean soup became a staple in many American homes. Beans, onions, carrots, and a single ham bone simmered slowly until thick and creamy. The smoky aroma filled the whole house, and one pot could feed a crowd. When meat was scarce, the soup relied on seasoning and patience to build flavor. Served with cornbread or crackers, it was a kind of meal that brought everyone to the table, hungry but grateful. Number 29. Pancakes for dinner. When the pantry was bare, pancakes came to the rescue. Flour, milk, eggs, and a bit of baking powder. That's all it took. Cheap, fast, and filling, pancakes weren't just for breakfast. They often served as dinner during lean weeks. Topped with syrup, sugar, or even just butter, they filled bellies and lifted spirits. Some added mashed bananas or a handful of berries to make them special. Light, fluffy, and comforting, they proved that survival food could still feel like a treat. Number 30. Dandelion greens salad. Yes, weeds for dinner. During the Great Depression, families foraged dandelion greens from fields and yards, washing and boiling them to remove bitterness. Dressed with vinegar, salt, and a bit of bacon grease if available, they became a tangy, nutritious side dish. These wild greens were free, rich in vitamins, and a symbol of true resourcefulness. When stores were empty and money was gone, nature still offered nourishment, if you knew where to look.